everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today to celebrate RMA's second annual Juneteenth Freedom Day celebration. We will be opening up with Ms. Becky Bass singing Lift Every Voice and Sing. I ask that everyone please rise.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. You may be seated. We are going to start off with a welcome from Congresswoman Whip Clark.
Happy Juneteenth, everyone. My name is Catherine Clark. I have the absolute privilege of representing each of you in Congress. And today, I'm proud to join you in this moment of celebration, reflection, and renewed commitment to justice. Juneteenth may be our newest national holiday, but its significance stretches back to the earliest and darkest days of our country. In President Biden's first Juneteenth proclamation, he noted that great nations don't ignore the most painful chapters of their past. Great nations confront them. That's our job as citizens, and that's exactly what you're doing today. Learning about our past, understanding it, and drawing from it a commitment to building a better future. To Principal Bob, to every student and parent in the Rumney Marsh family, thank you for being a part of this national rallying cry against systemic racism. We need all of your voices, all of your passion, all of your talent to keep moving forward. In Revere and across the country, there are still barriers that need to be torn down. From the doctor's office to the classroom to the boardroom to the halls of Congress, people of color continue to face outrageous disparities with centuries-old roots. It's going to take all of us standing together to build an America that lives up to the values it was founded on. And I'm grateful to be in that fight alongside each and every one of you. Thank you all, and have a wonderful celebration.
Clark regrets that she couldn't be here live, but she was able to send us that great message. We really appreciate that. And now I have the pleasure of introducing some amazing students here with us today who will be reading for us. We have 7th grader Manny Alejo. He will be sharing what is Juneteenth, and we have Antoine King, 6th grade student, and Anicia Brown, 8th grader, to tell us about Juneteenth history. Please join me on this stage, Manny, Antoine, and Anicia. Let's give it up for them, y'all. Woo!
Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration of abolition of slavery in the United States. On Juneteenth, we honor the history, we honor the legacy, and we honor the culture of our African American and Black community members. The word Juneteenth is a combination of the month of June and the date, the 19th. The Juneteenth flag includes the Star of Texas bursting with new freedom throughout the land over a new horizon. The flag was intentionally created with American red, white, blue, and blue colors.
In June 1865, Major General Gordon Granger led nearly 2,000 Union soldiers, which included the United States colored troops on their horses, to a city called Galveston in Texas. 2 days after their arrival, on June 19, General Granger read General Order No. 3 to spread the news that the Civil War had ended and now that the black people were now free.
This announcement came 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation of January 1st, 1863, which was intended to free all slaves in Confederate states. Since that proclamation was made during the Civil War, it was ignored by Confederate states, and it wasn't until the end of the war that the Emancipation Proclamation was finally enforced in the South. General Granger and the Union Army freed an estimate of 250,000 enslaved people in Galveston, Texas. This is why Juneteenth is also called Freedom Day.
You all heard that. You all heard that, right? 2.5 years later. So let's ground ourselves. Great reading. And now I'd like to introduce our principal. Today is going to be a day filled with learning. We ask all of y'all to open up your hearts and your minds. We're going to be planting seeds with Ms. Kara Washington and her group, Zili Music. This is going to be a wonderful day.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Special thank you to Ms. Perrette, Urga Perrette, who is sort of, this is Urga's brainchild. We started this actually last year to a much smaller degree. This year is even better than last year, and next year will be even bigger and better than this year. We, I believe, are trendsetters here in the city, having such a large celebration, but we're very proud to do so as a community. Our mayor is here, so with that, I'm going to introduce Mayor Keefe to read the proclamation.
Youthful celebration, right? I'm going to read a proclamation from the city of Revere, signed by myself and Clerk Melnick. Whereas 2023 is the 158th year of the Juneteenth Freedom Day, a nationally recognized day which celebrates the rich culture, legacy, and heritage of African Americans. And whereas Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration commemorating the abolition of slavery in the United States, dating back to June 19, 1865, when Union soldiers led by General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, with the news that the war had ended, freeing the enslaved, and whereas this was 2.5 years after President Abraham Lincoln delivered the Emancipation Proclamation, which became official on January 1st, 1863. And whereas today, Juneteenth, Freedom Day, hundreds of communities across the Commonwealth, across the nation, and people of all nationalities, cultures, and religions joined together to acknowledge the painful history and lasting systemic impact of slavery and racism in the United States. Juneteenth is an annual opportunity to recommit ourselves to the goal of creating more equitable and just society. An effort that today continues celebrates African Americans' freedom and achievement while encouraging continuous self-development and respect for all cultures, as it takes on a more national, symbolic, and even global perspective to ensure the events of 1865 are not forgotten. And whereas on this day in 2020, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, signed by Governor Charles Baker, Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito, declared June 19th Independence Day to commemorate the end of slavery in the United States. The City of Revere, under Mayor Brian Arrigo, also followed suit, whereas on June 17, 2021, President Joe Biden signed into legislation establishing June 19th, Juneteenth, National Independence Day, the United States federal holiday, commemorating the end of slavery in the United States. And whereas June 2021, and the City of Revere proclaimed that every June 19th would be celebrated as Juneteenth Independence Day in Revere. Now, therefore, it be resolved that Acting Mayor of the City of Revere, on behalf of its citizens, do hereby proclaim June 19th, Juneteenth Independence Day. Signed, Patrick M. Keefe and Ashley E. Milnick. I did also want to offer some remarks, because these are words, and a proclamation is a book, and it is words that have important meaning. And sometimes you have to read through them all to really understand and get the true meaning of them. But words are just words. Actions will speak much louder. So it's all about how we carry forth these words. And here's a quick quote from President Barack Obama. Juneteenth has never been a celebration of victory or an acceptance of the way things are. It's a celebration of progress. It's an affirmation that despite the most painful parts of our history, change is possible. And there is still so much more to do. So don't forget that. We still have lots to do. Thank you.
The work that needs to get done is going to take us all to undo racism, to decolonize the curriculum so that we can learn the real history so that we do not repeat it. Because in real time, people of color, people that look like me, are really, really struggling and going through it because of racism. And next, I would like to introduce Mr. Mo Lewis, who will be reading a song, but it's going to be in the form of poetry. And then we will be hearing from Ms. Kira Washington. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perrette. This poem is from the 54th Regiment. Fremont told them when the war had first begun how to save the Union and the way it should be done. But Kentucky swore so hard and old Abe had his fears, till every hope was lost but the colored volunteers. McClellan went to Richmond with 2,000 brave. He said, keep back the blacks and the Union would be saved. Little Mac, he had his way, still the Union is in tears. Now they call for the help of the colored volunteers. Old Jeff says he'll hang us if we dare to meet him armed. A very big thing, but we are not alarmed. For he first has got to catch us before his way is clear. And that's what's the matter with the colored volunteer. So rally, boys, rally. Let us never mind the past. We had a hard road to travel, but our day is coming fast. For God is for the right, and we have no need to fear. The Union must be saved, be the colored volunteer. Thank you.
Is this? Okay. Good morning. Those lyrics from that song written by the 54th Regiment talk about the struggle that they had to be able to fight for their own freedom. The 54th Regiment is important because it was the first black regiment from the North, from the Union soldiers that fought in the Civil War. They asked to be able to fight for their own freedom. Please let us be a part of this struggle. And the reason why they wanted to be a part of it was because they didn't want to be talked about or fought for without their own agency there. Thank you. So thank you for reading those lyrics. We're going to hear more about that song when you come into the auditorium or to the gym with us today. We're going to sing that song. We're going to use it to make connections with other freedom struggles that happened because our freedom was bound with other freedom struggles that happened throughout the Americas. In the Caribbean, in North and South America, people were struggling together. People of African descent, people of indigenous descent, people of European descent who knew that it was wrong. They were all struggling to end slavery, to end enslavement. So when I start today, I just press this arrow now. Okay, thank you so much. I wanted to tell you about what you saw when you walked in this morning. Hopefully you noticed there were some footprints on the ground. What were those? Because we're talking about Galveston, Texas. That's a long way away from where we are. We are here in Massachusetts. Freedom struggle, we had a lot to do with it. Not only the 54th, but the 54th happened because there was so much energy around abolition, ending slavery, ending enslavement here in our state. And so the footprints that you see going into the room where we are right now and going into the gymnasium, they have the names of people in our community who fought, who were abolitionists like Ann Welcome. Black folk, folk of African descent, and folk of many different descents, indigenous and African and European. I'm sorry, I didn't mention back there. Oh, that one. Oh, here it is. Okay. Rumney Marsh. I think about the name of your school. We have to always think about the folk who were the original stewards of the land on which we are right now, right? This land, they originally were stewarding it when our ancestors came here. It's important to always remember that slavery did not only affect folk of African descent. Slavery affected all of us, all of our ancestors, okay? The Emancipation Proclamation, we talked about that, signed January 1st, 1863, but the Civil War didn't end until April 9th, 1865, but even then, enslavement didn't end. And we know that Juneteenth was the last moment. We know that those folk in Texas who were the last group of folk isolated down there on that island were told, okay, you know what, you're free, you can go. But it still took until December 9th, 1865 for the 13th Amendment to be actually ratified. That means enough states had to say, okay, we agree with it. All right, now there is no more legal slavery in our country. So the states that we're talking about Texas, which seems so far away, all of these states affected by the Civil War and by that proclamation. June 19th being the day that we were thinking about, that song by the 54th it affected those folk down in Galveston, Texas as well, because the 54th Regiment, even though it was started here in Massachusetts, it did not only include folk from Massachusetts. It's true that there were relatives of Frederick Douglass. His son signed up. His two sons signed up. Relatives of Harriet Tubman, names that you might know. Her nephews signed up. Sojourner Truth, her family members signed up. But not only from all states in the Union, but also Canada. There were people who came from Canada to sign up for the 54th. People who signed up, if you look back at the registry, from the West Indies. So where? It doesn't say exactly where. Were they from Haiti? I think about that connection because our Civil War was so much influenced by the Haitian Revolution. And that happened 1791 to 1804. When we think about that flag, we just had Flag Day, right? June 14th. That's the song. When they're talking about give us a flag, they're saying, how can I pledge allegiance to a flag that does not include me? Frederick Douglass, at last the outspread wings of the American eagle afford shelter and protection to men of all colors. And of course, he meant all people of all genders. We'll just add that in for him. All colors, all countries, amid all climes, and the long oppressed black man may honorably fall or gloriously flourish under the star-spangled banner. Frederick Douglass was an escaped slave, an abolitionist, an editor, an orator, and a public servant who had two sons that served in the 54th Regiment. The freedom struggles throughout the Caribbean and the Americas affected our Civil War. In Haiti, they struggled for 13 years to win their own freedom, to kick out the French. That's history that we don't think of as connected to our own today when we talk about Haiti, but we have to recognize the reverberations that were sent around the world with that successful freedom struggle by formerly enslaved people who answered the call. There was a call of some of the leaders, the original leaders, Toussaint Louverture, later who emerged, all these leaders who emerged, who answered the call, the horn, the conch shell, they call, to begin that freedom fight, that struggle that included not only Haitians, but there were people who defected from the French army, people who had come over to fight with the French, Poles, Germans, indigenous folk who still lived there. They fought on the side of the formerly enslaved people. That's how that struggle was finally won. And also won on January 1st, 1804. So that connection is real. That connection. We have Toussaint Louverture here, we have Jean-Jacques Dessalines there, and we have that conch shell, the Neg Marron, the first person who is said to have blown that shell to say, you know what? Freedom starts now. So today, we are taking these songs and music, that horn, along with the rhythms that inspired people to fight. That's what we're taking today. When you come into the gym, you're going to be a part of that. We're going to take that song, Give Us a Flag, start there. We're going to join it with some music called Igbo from Haiti. We're going to dance it. We're going to sing a song. We're going to involve you. So, some members of Zilimbisik, as Ms. Perrette said, are here, and Jean-Sébastien Duvalier is here leading us in Igbo. So, that song again, the chorus, give us a flag all free without a slave. We will fight to defend it as our fathers did so brave. What does that mean? There were folk in the American Revolution as well, folk of African descent, folk of indigenous descent, who fought for the freedom of this country originally, even though that freedom would not include them until this time. We'll fight to defend it as our fathers did so brave. The gallant Company A will make the rebels dance. and we'll stand by the Union if we only have a chance. This is the memorial we have to the 54th right outside the State House in Massachusetts. So, one of the songs we focused on, Igbo Guamuno, Guamuno. The Igbo are wise. The Igbo are old. We are all part of the Igbo nation. We are all fighters, and we all have a role in keeping the dance of freedom going today. We all have a role. We cannot be bystanders when we see people doing things that we know are not right, that discriminate against our cousins. We're all related. We cannot stand by. We must get in there, find what our role is. Everybody doesn't have the same role, but find your role and get in there and do it. We'll see you in the gymnasium.